What's going on there, folks? Good afternoon. It's the Earthmaster here on this Tuesday, Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2023. It is about 1:03 p.m. here along the west coast in California. And latest activity out here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows continued movement with a 3.0 over into the Turkey area. We have seen a little bit of interesting earthquake activity ramping up around the Romania area, where we did see another earthquake come in early this morning, a 5.6. This is making a rather interesting scenario here following the large-scale activity in Turkey over the past week or so. Of course, we had that those 7 pointers here in Turkey. I've been waiting to see where all this adjustment is going to be taking place because whenever we do see major plate adjustment, major earthquake activity, we do look for telltale signs of where the stress could be leading up to next. And it looks like we may be witnessing that currently towards the Romania area. Let's go ahead and check out the activity here across Romania. Now, this is a USGS map. There's a lot more earthquake activity popping up here than what is showing on the USGS side. 7 days of activity. Of course, we did have that 5.0 yesterday. And then again, roughly about almost 24 hours later, we've seen a 5.6, a little bit larger earthquake compared to the first one. Now, we do have listed up here on the EMSC model quite a few 3s and 4s and some 2s, along with this cluster of earthquake activity around the Romania region. There is some mountain ranges up here, and historical data. I went ahead and pulled up historical data just specifically around Romania, and there's nothing above 6.0 in this area of Romania, but there is definitely a lot of larger scale activity eastward up against the mountain range here. Not for sure what these are called. Like I say, I don't really look into activity here too much in terms of earthquake activity, but it appears as though this is where our hotspot is going to be. Latest activity, it looks like far as 6.3, where 6.0 goes, there was a 6.3 back in 1990, and prior to that, a 7.0 within the same vicinity. Now, that's a lot of time that has passed since then. There hasn't been really anything recent in terms of 6.0 and above at all for this area. And as we go back looking at historical data, some of these earthquakes get rather large as well. Back in 1975, a 7.5, and even a 7.7 back in 1940. And a lot of these are some deeper movement quakes, but still rather large earthquake activity. So with this ongoing movement here, you got to think of what's taken place. Where'd all this strain go once that earthquake hit, right? It slips, it's built up strain, but at the same time, that does put plates into movement. Not only local fault systems, but as general, the plate systems as a whole, because of you got to picture this as a not necessarily a jigsaw puzzle, but I don't know. I guess you can kind of use that. Moving the puzzle pieces around, you adjust one side over here, it affects another area at a distance. So kind of keeping an eye on this area around Romania. I want to see what we got here for the EMSC model here real quick. Stand by and see what we got for a total tally out there around Romania. Definitely noteworthy, and I'm sure it's got to do with the adjustment down here in Turkey. Let's zoom in here to the Romania area. Let me back out of here. I want to see all of the data here. Zoom in. Hello. There we go. That's going to be the Turkey area. So let's go back over here. Not for sure why it does that. All right, there we go. So looking at the earthquake activity here over the this is going to be last 24 hours. We can go last 48 hours and see if there's any more. Might add another quake or two on the map here. But as you can see, as far as any main quake goes, It's questionable because we did have a 5-pointer prior to the 5.5, and as we look back into the first week of February, we did have a 4.6 as well. So there's a lot of uncertainty on if these are foreshocks or not. If I remember, yes, we did have something similar like this going on in Turkey, right around the western Turkey area, probably about a month prior to the large-scale activity that took place in Turkey last week. I think it's been over 7. Well, yeah, it's been about. I don't know. I lose track of time here, but it's been about 7 days or so, I believe. So let me see if I can bring this up and show you guys maybe the activity that I'm kind of chatting about here. I do cover it a lot, but we did see over here in western Turkey, we did see a pretty good swarm of activity. It was almost consistent. Let's see if it's going to show up on this map. Some of it is, but I know we had a lot more over here. And maybe it's possible a lot of that was under the 4.0 threshold. But we did see a swarm. And then, it's kind of hard to decipher on if the swarming is leading up to something bigger directly in this area, or if it's at a nearby plate boundary or nearby fault system. In this case, it was very close to the swarm, a couple hundred miles or so along this major plate boundary, of course, where we've seen that the large-scale earthquake activity last week, 7.8, 7.5, a couple 6s in there as well, and many, many others. That's a lot of adjustment, a lot of movement. And the general plate movement here in this area, let me bring this up here real quick as I see if I can find out what I'm doing. I normally keep this map on so I can show you guys and kind of explain where the plates are kind of scooting off to. So around this area here, looks like you got the Arabia plate. Remember, it's that triple point junction area, the Eurasia, Arabia, and the African plate, all kind of intermixing here, intermingling. Now there's general plate movement here. Looks like it should scoot off towards the northeast in a way, but that doesn't go for all the smaller fault systems out here. So it's questionable. But I do see a relation in all the activity from last week leading up to the activity today in Romania. There's just a lot of movement kicking up here in this area. Looks like 14 earthquakes so far in the last 24 hours of the Romania region, and again the largest, a 5.5 so far at 40 kilometers deep. Now that 5-pointer from yesterday was a little bit more shallower, 13 kilometers deep. And we're seeing some inconsistencies here on the depth of these earthquakes. They're kind of all over the place. So that tells me right there that we could be looking at something larger taking place out here in the Romania region. So we'll continue to watch that for some activity. It's obviously away from the plate boundary, the major plate boundaries down here, but these mountain ranges didn't form by themselves. There's a lot at stake and a lot at play here in the terms of plate tectonics in this area. Let me see what we got for 4.5 and above. Historical data, again, remember where all those 6s hit and some 7s over the last century or so. Looking here directly where this 5.5 struck today, it's rather scarce. There's not a whole lot of earthquake activity out here, even 4.5 and above. Very minimal. Maybe some over here to the west, but something's brewing out here. And it might be a good idea to keep watch and be prepared. Not for certain on the population density out here. Looks like there is some nearby areas of Romania. Not for sure what the population density is here within that epicenter of the 5.6, but it was definitely felt Quite a few folks did report feeling that. I don't know if the USGS picked up on it or not. Yeah, it looks like they picked up a little bit throughout the area of Romania and adjacent countries right there. So we'll continue to watch it and report back on it. Definitely a hot spot of earthquake activity kicking up right now in this region. All right, let's back out of here and check out the rest of the globe here. The model, the flat scale model Earth here. Movement in Turkey still continuing, although dying down slightly, at least 4.0 and above. The EMSC model, though, still showing quite a bit of earthquake activity in the Turkey area. And that's expected, folks. Definitely will continue for quite a while. Last 24 hours in the red, last hour in the purple circles. So you can see here around central Turkey. Quite a few 2s, occasionally 4s and whatnot popping up, but I don't think we've seen any major aftershocks since those large ones there last week. All right, back out of here. I've got a couple different windows open here. Eastern Afghanistan, one earthquake here this morning as well, 4.2. 215 kilometers deep. It's a pretty deep earthquake out there. This is another region that's been seeing quite a bit of earthquake activity over the last couple months out here. Quite a few 4s, some 5s in there as well. I think we may have had a 6 or 7 pointer back here, wasn't it, earlier this year or last year? Eastern Afghanistan area. I don't quite remember exactly, but I could swear we had a somewhat of a larger magnitude earthquake out there. Let's see here. Elsewhere in the 24-hour threshold map, quiet here across the Himalayas for now, and the Java Trench regions. Nothing really showing up there. Let me just double check. Looks like we had one 3.7 earlier. Or late last night, but for the most part, still very quiet here along this major plate boundary. Around the Philippines, did see a 4.6 and some other smaller activity across the Indonesia region. Down into the Fiji area, over here, Tonga Trench, looks like we have some further deep activity to chat about. One showing up here, 4.9, 553 kilometers deep into the Tonga Trench, just south of Fiji. Now that is 4.9 coming in about 8:30 this morning. But I am kind of looks like there's 2 earthquakes down there. Let me see who's reporting what. Again, we got GeoNet. We do have GeoNet servers here reporting that earthquake. So I'm just kind of, I did include them back on the globe. So I have 3 different agencies to pick up the data. I don't like to rely on just 1 or 2. It's probably good to have a wide array of reporting agencies. But sometimes we'll have to verify this and see, which one's a more accurate one. But this one, GeoNet, saying 5.2, 600 kilometers deep. And that's going to be at the same time frame. 5:33, in this case, 8:33 my time. So a little bit of data differences, but still, either way, a deep earthquake being picked up there in that region. Kermadec Trench did see some activity yesterday and the day before. 4.8 also coming in this morning, 39 kilometers deep. It's been showing activity here across the last couple days. Look at the model here. I'm not seeing anything new pop up here across New Zealand, but let's just go ahead and double check earthquakes. See what's being reported out here 57 minutes ago. North Island looks like pretty close to the Taupo super volcano. 2.3. Also some activity. That's yesterday. Let me see what we got here. All magnitudes. Mostly smaller microquakes being reported across the area. No specific swarm region. Let's check out the volcanic drums here real quick. Kind of want to see what's going on over there around the super volcano. I don't really see too much. If anything, a little spike of an earthquake, but that doesn't even look significant on the chart at all. And no major activity. Otherwise, this would be lighting up like crazy. And a quick glance at the earthquake drums here. Nothing showing up wide scale. All of them look pretty calm. Yeah, definitely today a different story in terms of earthquake activity. There's that earthquake from yesterday. That was going to be the... it shows it here on the globe. The 4.6 that they're reporting from yesterday. Although I think it was a little bit weaker than that. I know the EMSC reported this much smaller, I think a 3.3. I base my decision off of how significant the signature lacked across the region of South Island. Some of them just barely picking it up where it should have been a more prominent signature. But GeoNet saying a 4-pointer. And the EMSC reporting a 3-pointer. But either way, that earthquake did show up a little bit on some of the stations. As far as recent activity goes, looks pretty calm. No major swarms, no major earthquake activity to report across New Zealand now. I did see some flooding pictures and whatnot out there from the cyclone Gabrielle. Quite a bit of wind, power outages, and flooding. So hopefully everyone stays safe out there. All right, big island of Hawaii, Pahala area, still showing some movement today with the latest a 2.3 earthquake. 31 kilometers deep, no major adjustments at Mauna Loa or the Kilauea volcano. Things as is, as they should be for now. Western Pacific, nothing. It's been our quiet zone. It's so odd. I mean, it's occasionally we'll see some deeper movement quakes across the Sea of Osk up here and also into the portions of the East China Sea. But goodness, I mean, it's been all too quiet here, folks. And I think this should start to show some activity here really soon. Looking at that globe here, it did show some activity. It looks like some 4s and 5s here. I believe some of those are from yesterday. Nothing shown up here on the USGS side. But look over here and check out the EMSC model just to double check and see what we have going on here. 4.0 and above worldwide. Yeah, they're still not really showing anything up here. There's a 3.5, somewhat of a smaller quake. That one coming in yesterday. I think it's over that time frame, past the 24-hour threshold. That one there from today, it looks like 3.9, but still lacking, definitely lacking some large-scale activity along that Peru-Chile Trench in Japan region. Alaska, very minimal activity up there today. West Coast. Let's go ahead and start inland real quick here around Yellowstone. Looks like they're adding a couple more earthquakes up here on the map. So, I haven't seen it yet, so let's see what's going on here. Across the Yellowstone area. Ooh. Getting a little bit back up here into the graphs. It did calm down last night and yesterday a little bit. Looks like we're starting to kick back up here slightly. There's a good handful of earthquakes there. Probably, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15. If you want to count all these other smaller ones too. And situated right across the northwest corner of Yellowstone National Park. Looks like epicenter right around the Maple Creek area. The rest of Yellowstone looks fairly minimal. These guys are counting 9 earthquakes. The largest looks to be a 1.9, or actually a 2.4. Goodness. 2.4, and that seemed to have maybe triggered a little swarm out there. About 6 to 8 kilometers deep. Last one, though, was somewhat shallow, a 3.3 kilometers deep for a 0.5. Rest of the country here, a little quarry blast, it looks like. Southern Oklahoma, nothing being hit out here today as far as the oil fields go. Pacific Northwest, things fairly quiet. A little microquake activity around Mount Rainier. Oregon, quiet. Gorda Ridges did see a 3.6 out here. Well to the west here of the Cascadia subduction zone. Looks like 16 kilometers deep here on the Gorda plate. This is going to be a small microplate here. All this area is being shoved underneath and to the east here of the North American plate. We do have one earthquake here yesterday, that 2.4, and also another one over here, 3.0. Now this one's almost 40 kilometers deep. That is down there along with the tremor, very close to the tremor zone. And by tremor, let's go over here and check real quick. Not volcanic tremor. We're not really seeing anything pop up here yesterday, but I do know a couple days back we did have some activity, mostly into Oregon. Trying to find that Northern California activity here. Just kind of been spreading out. A couple days of nothing. But either way, the tremor activity normally takes place within this region, about 35-45 kilometers underneath this area where the hand is hovering over. And that's going to be the subduction zone level interface down below the surface. And that's where that three-pointer struck today, down there about 39 kilometers deep. A lot of times the tremor, tremor is a slow vibrational movement between the plates here in the subduction zone. And a lot of times it can get stuck down there, even deeper levels. We've had deeper earthquakes up here at the northern end, up in Washington and even Oregon. It's been a while. But a lot of times that whole process, the whole subduction process, sometimes it gets stuck down there. Obviously, we get strain built up at the locked area, but also at the same time, we can get these little areas of stuck regions down there, and we get these little earthquakes. A three-pointer, definitely not a big one, but it does go to show you that sometimes we get movement that's larger than the tremor down there in the subduction zone. All right, rest of California here. I'm going to skip over the Clear Lake volcanic field. It's very typical for that area. Hayward Fault's been active. I know we watched that yesterday. Looks like we did have one more, 1.0 this morning. 1.7 way down here along the San Andreas Fault. But things look like they may be taking a slight break across this area of the Calaveras Fault Zone and the Hayward Fault here. Some activity outside Long Valley Supervolcano from yesterday. Nothing else showing up here today. Last one was a 1.8 last night. A little bit of activity across the Candelaria Hills here, just outside of Mina and northwest of the Tonopah area. Ridgecrest looks pretty quiet today. In extreme southern California, got some activity just off the Elsinore Fault Zone. Nothing major going on across this plate boundary for now. Little earthquake outside of the north of the Oceanside area. Beautiful drive up and down here, but also at the same time there's some fault systems that do sit offshore that do pose a threat for some larger earthquakes. But for now, 1.6, 17 kilometers deep. The Caribbean plate here, looks like we had a 2.7 overnight. All this other activity there from yesterday, including that 4.2 in the Dominican Republic area. 4.5 here in Panama, looks like a 10 kilometer deep earthquake. Now I do want to check the globe here real quick and see if we got, yeah, it looks pretty minimal, not a whole lot. What I was looking for here is some swarming along this area of the plates, and it looks like it's shifted down south into the Chile area, big time. There's a lot of earthquake activity ramping up here into the Chile area, and a lot of it's just this morning. So let's look at this real quick here. A couple from yesterday, couple from today. Some deeper movement quakes here. The last one, a 4.3, 211 kilometers deep into the Peru-Chile Trench. Now this area is a major subduction zone. And looking at the globe here, it looks like most of this activity is deeper movement. So with that being said, we need to watch this area upstream around the subduction zone level itself, up over here along this plate boundary for some potential movement. That's just a lot of activity kicking up there. All right, let's see, what else do we have? The Atlantic, pretty quiet. We were watching a little swarm of activity up here. Had 3 earthquakes kick up north of Iceland along the divergent boundary up here, plate boundary. That kind of came in all at once. Notice the red arrows here along the plate boundary of the North American plate and the Eurasia plate. Basically a separation here of the plate boundary. And minor other fault systems exist within that plate boundary, but the general name for this area is a divergent plate boundary. And we've seen pretty much 3 earthquakes back to back like that within minutes of each other. All right, let's see, what else do we have? Could be a very active day, folks. Again, watch the Romania area. That's a little on the concerning side there, with really no main quake yet. And with it being in position, you know, in close proximity to the earthquakes last week, the large-scale activity here in Turkey, you know, I wouldn't doubt if we're starting to see a new place of area to watch. It's been a while since we've had a larger activity movement up there in Romania. Might want to definitely keep that on the list here. We'll continue to cover that in our updates. Let's see what else we got here. Space weather activity, and then I got to get on with the day. Looks like we are flaring currently. A look at the flaring activity shows we're kind of getting into the M flare category currently. Overnight did have long duration M flare. Peaked out at about 2.6, it looks like. Let's see where this flaring's coming from. I think I already see it. Kind of looks like it's way over here on the definitely not any of these, but more so this region right here, just out of view. So potentially this could be a pretty strong M flare, but we're just barely getting a glimpse of it here on the Earth-facing side of the sun. Overall threat, 99% certainty for a C flare, M flare at 50. They have lowered the X flare down to 10. Let's take a look at the magnetic structures here. See what's going on. Yeah, a lot of these sunspots are just kind of, they look pretty stable, fairly stable here across the area. So it's amazing how quick these things can change overnight. You know, 1 minute they'll look super active, and then the next they're just kind of floating along, behaving nicely. But we'll continue to watch this region right here, I believe. Maybe this area down here looks like there's a little bit further growth into the sunspot area. So that's going to be 3226 and 3225 areas to watch here. But we'll see how, definitely see how it plays out. But for now, the flaring is way on the northwestern limb of the sun, directly away from Earth, and we can just barely see that flare popping off. But we're getting some of the effects here. Alrighty, I think that's about it, folks. I'm going to jump off here and enjoy the rest of the day. Kind of cool out here right now, 55 degrees. Got some colder air coming down out of the north, and that's going to hit a lot of the country here over the next couple days. So no major rain in the forecast here for California, just some cooler temperatures because we did hit the 70s over the last couple days. Alrighty, folks, have a good day. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later on this evening with the update tomorrow. Tomorrow is our drawing. Don't forget, become a member here on the channel, and of course you get automatically entered into winning some prizes. We'll go over that a little bit more later tonight. Have a good one, folks. Take care.